Welcome to Hollywood, baby. Hey. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Wind Down Wednesday with my Lady of the Week. Oh, look at all the people already coming in. Y'all were ready for tonight, huh? Hello, Anthony Morris 73932. Hey, Scorpio Passions. Hello. Hey, Shantae. At the real _Shantae. If you guys are looking to buy or purchase a home in Atlanta, hit up your girl, the realtor, _ Shantae, and it's SHAWNTAE. Make sure you hit her up. Hi, mommy. My mom is here. Hello, hello, hello. Y'all go show my mother some love at imani.richardson.792. Hello, look at all the people coming on in here tonight. Y'all really about it tonight. I'm excited. And this show tonight is super, super, super exciting to me. Like, I'm over the moon that this guest has taken time out of her busy schedule to join us this evening. So tonight's Wind Down Wednesday is about navigating successfully in the male-dominated field. We're going to get into that in 1 second. I'm going to allow a few more of you to get on in here. Oh, hey, short stuff _71. Thank you for joining us this evening. Oh, we got a lot of people on here tonight. Okay, I'm excited. So listen, if you think you have what it takes to be in Hollywood, particularly as a comedian, you really want to pay attention tonight. This phenomenal woman that I have coming into the wine room is what I like to call the HLICC. That's the head lady in charge of comedy. So give me a second, and I'm going to bring my Lady of the Week, Miss Tamra Goins, into the wine room. 1 second, you guys. Look at everybody. Hi, I'm so excited. Okay, let me see if I can get Tamra to join us. Can you go back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta? Nate the Dan 7332. That would be a no. But thank you for asking. All right, let me see if I can get Tamra in here with us. Give me 1 second, guys. Let's see if I can pull her in here. There you go. I'm sending. See, she joins us real quick. Hi, everybody. Can y'all believe it's already Wednesday? I don't know where the days are going. They're just a blur. I call it Blur's Day, whatever day, because I don't know what day of the week it is anymore. So, all right, Miss Tam, you see that request button trying to get you in here? Let's see. Shantae, oh, hi, everybody. All righty, let's see. We got Second Chance for Kids Incorporated has joined us. Hey, JJ Brand. Hey. Hello, beautiful.
I just had for some reason my other phone, the sound just went out. So but we have to stay agile. So here we are.
Here we are, and you look beautiful.
Thank you.
Evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining me this evening.
For sure. I would love to. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so as always, before I get started, I always like to make sure, look, we bring this on wine into the wine room so we can toast it up to a great conversation. I'm going to drink a little bit. All right.
Okay, this conversation, I might be drinking a lot.
Well, look, and that'll make for some good live IG entertainment tonight. Then.
Yes, for sure.
Listen, okay, so before we get started, can you tell everybody who you are and where you're from?
I'm Tamra Goins. I am from Oakland, California, born and raised, and you know, my travels have taken me to, I lived in Texas for 10 years. I lived in Philadelphia. I lived in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. I lived in Denver for a year. And now I've winded up in sunny California. But Southern, you know, I'm a Bay Area, born Bay Area bred chick. And, you know, so this feels not quite like home, but close. So
let me say something about you Bay Area chicks. No, seriously, all the women that I know that are from Oakland, you all are some boss babes. Like, you guys handle business like no other, Tamra. And I know you, Bailey, Tamika Foster, she's from the Bay. Like, you all are just fearless. So I don't know what y'all drink up there, what's in the water that makes you all that way, but it's amazing across the board. So woo woo Oaktown.
Thank you. I think that we are, even going back home, it's grit, it's hustle. I mean, I would never change where I came from because it taught me everything on how to survive.
Right.
And it's, it's so interesting as parents, we shield our kids from the same adversity that created the character. And, and then we wonder why they lack character. Right. So, I find myself now as a mom with, 3 kids, 22, 20, and 16. Had I had it to do over again, I would want them to have more of a childhood like mine. But, being from the Bay, it's town business, but I think one of the biggest things about it is that everybody, they talk about 3 degrees of separation. It's more like 1. So there's no room for lying.
Hello.
There's too much fact checking. Everybody's connected, and so when you're born from that and you're bred from that, and you see it too, because there's times where you'll talk to somebody and they're like, I'm from the Bay. And you're like, there's something that drew you near because there's that same foundational set of principles, that you grow up with, that that you see it in one another,
Okay, so I'm going to do a little something. I'm going to pop your collar right now for the audience because I need the people in the back to really understand who it is I have on this live. So allow me to pull up my little script here. So,
okay.
On here, it says you have more than 25 years of experience in artist representation, show production, aligned branding, and deal making. You are known for producing and promoting Shaquille O'Neal's All-Star Comedy Jam, Tamra.
Yes,
so, first of all, let me just give you a round of applause for all of that. But I want to know, what was that like, producing that show with all of those comedians, Tamra?
I mean, the what's funny is that, especially when you look back over the roster of who they are, they weren't who they are. You know what I mean? Back then, they were just these amazingly talented, just bouted comedians. And so, back then, like Steve Harvey was big, and, all of the guys that were, had really big names, Cedric the Entertainer, Kevin Hart wasn't Kevin, D-Ray wasn't D-Ray, Michael Blackson wasn't Michael Blackson, Corey Holcomb, I mean, it's like, so, are
you guys hearing this lineup? She said Kevin Hart,
D-Ray Davis, Michael Blackson, Deion Cole, Lil Rel, Lavelle Crawford, Earthquake. I mean, it was just so many people. Gary Owen, LeVar Walker, Red Grant, Faison. I mean, it's like when you look over. I mean, Bill Bellamy. I mean, like, now the ones that were the hosts, they were notable, so they were like our headliners. But the rest of that show, Capone. I mean, we had Jay Farrell back in 2012. Black folks were watching SNL. And so when you think about Shaquille O'Neal and Jeff Flanagan and Leslie Small and Valerie Benning, and but with Shaq, he's always loved comedy. So and there was that place for our comedians to have a platform on TV had gone away. So he made his own because he's that trailblazer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's always ahead of the curve. He's always trying something new. And that is so what I love about him. But even in trying something new, so you did that, and then you get recruited. Look, I opened up the show. I said you are the HLICC. Okay, that's the head lady in charge of comedy over at Innovative Artists. So how did you go from there over to that position?
It's interesting because at 38, I woke up in a dead-end job, loveless marriage, the middle of America, raising my 3 kids. And I said, whose life is this? I've been dope since I was 12.
Hello.
And I just, and at that moment, I just realized that there was no way that anybody around me could be happy because I wasn't walking in my purpose. And so I called my mentor, and he had created Shack All Star, you know, and they were touring and they were coming to Dallas. And since I was, you know, I was back, I got involved, and that was back in 2010. Okay. And so from 2010 to 2013, just touring and hustling and building a brand. And, you know, there was a Comedy Shack portion working with Chicago, and, you know, it was like, you know, and then we started dabbling with the influencers. But I think one of the biggest things was, it was what I did in my off time that really opened up for, you know, Hollywood. And that is when the different Black comedians would come into the city. Then I would help them sell their shows out. So I would connect them with this promoter that was in the Dallas area that had an outreach. And think about, in 2010 and 11, social media wasn't what it is now.
Not at all. But that's the thing, Tamra, that you were able to do what you did back then without social media and promote that show to be as successful as it was. That's a phenomenal.
Well, you know, I mean, like, again, it's like when you have a team of people, and and going back to the basics of promoting. So again, 25 years experience. Back when I was 22, I was on the road with the Isley Brothers, on the road with HBO Def Comedy Jam. You know, so it's like I got that road experience. I was trained in promotions, promoting in the Bay Area. I used to manage a jazz club, you know, and so, and at the time, you know, my mentor said, you can manage a club. And that was owned by Ronnie Lott, Keena Turner, Eric Wright, Charles Haley, all from the 49ers. And this attorney named Kurt Robinson, who took me under his wing, this attorney from Notre Dame. You know, so I've had, when I think about all of the angels that have surrounded me, God put all these amazing people in my life to guide me, because I'm this little Black girl from Oakland that's lost. I could have just been lost to the game, right? You know, but between Upward Bound, between, you know, San Jose State, and, you know, the iron grit of knowing that I didn't just want to be, you know, some dope dealer's, you know, baby's mama somewhere. Right. No, you know, it's like I wanted more. And so when I started selflessly helping these comedians that would come to Dallas to sell out, then my name started to permeate. And I think people wondered, like, kind of where I came from, because I had taken the hiatus to, you know, for my family. And so then it's like, they're like, who's this chick? And this new agency, Jeff Berg from ICM started this new agency, and they wanted to know who was the agent that had the relationship with the Black comedians, because they knew that was money. And my name kept coming up, but they're like, but she's not an agent. And so, you know, they flew me in on a Sunday. I mean, they called me on a Sunday, flew me in on a Thursday, signed me on a Friday. But the thing is I felt obligated, because there was nobody that looked like me. As a buyer, there was no Black female agent that I was calling to book the people whose brands we were building. And what was so interesting is that some of their representation that didn't look like us, they were so threatened because they couldn't lie to them, because we had better relationships. You know, there was just all of these things going on. So even now, I pattern myself to be the agent and to train the new agents coming after me to not do the foolishness that I encountered on the other side. And so was lying a prerequisite? You know, what took so long? I felt obligated to go look behind the steel curtain and represent for us, because there literally was nobody that looked like me.
Well, you're representing for us very well. I must say. So let me ask you this. What is the difference between an agent and a manager? Because a lot of people confuse the two.
Well, an agent actually is very transactional. You know, it's like, so a manager is, you know, would help with the strategy, would help with the assets, would help with the optics and laying out how you get from one place to another. And then the manager and the client, they bring those assets to the agent. And the agent goes out to the buying public, whether that's in literary, whether it's in touring, whether it's, you know, in acting, and sell you, if you will. Okay. You know, so, but a lot of times people think, now I end up being a hybrid, because a lot of my people didn't have managers. For a lot of some of these well-known, you know, comedians now, I'm their first agent. Wow. Because, you know, in the way that the agency, because it is so transactional, and they make it so competitive and, really about, just, booking and money and, that sort of thing. They're not interested unless you're making money. So they're not spending the time to develop. If you can't develop them and they're not already making money, then you're not getting the ear of, some, young junior agent that, has to make a quota, And so with me at Innovative, I'm a partner over the comedy department. So within, it's not just touring. So within the comedy department, we can service a comedian 360, and we can give them time to incubate. And it's like, even during the, the pandemic, it's like they can pivot. And so now maybe it's like, okay, we can't go to, we're not touring, but maybe it's digital, maybe it's branding, maybe, now we're gonna do more radio. But if I was just touring, then I would just be sitting on my hands waiting until the world opened back up.
Right. Okay, so you mentioned developing the comedian. So walk us kind of through what that process looks like. You get a new client and you see, they little bit polishing, and at what point does a person seek an agent as well?
I feel like it depends on what it is that they're selling. Because I think for some of the comedic actors, there's classes, there's sketch groups, there's UCB, there's Second City, there's these different, programs that you can go through. And then at the end of that, you don't have to have so much, because those programs are renowned for, turning out great talent. So then the agents go there looking for talent. But for some of our more self-made people, especially since the internet, I mean, even look at what we're doing. Who would imagine that, the two of us could get on here and people would be watching.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, the thing is that for some of my self-made people, I want to teach them the etiquette of Hollywood while protecting them from it. Sometimes people are so much more interested in how much money it is, not considering exclusivity or options, which, can equate to indentured servitude.
Right.
So, there's like, so if like, say if there's a comedic actor, you might be able to take somebody like that. And now you're looking at, independent films. But I think a lot of those people, they kind of get together and they create their own content. So it's like, I don't know that there is one thing. I know for me, if somebody's great in stand-up and they have that, that following and they want to get into acting. So now I'm talking to my casting directors. Do you know about this person? I'm telling them, you need to go and, take acting classes. Because here's one of the biggest things, especially for the touring comic. You can't take an actor's job that doesn't have touring money if you're not putting in the same amount of work that he is. You got somebody that's sitting at home and the only thing they have, the only work they're going to have is this acting job. And you think that you could give some mediocre, effort to come and take their job when that's all they have. So especially with the comedians, I think, when you need an agent, you'll know. A lot of times they'll find you. You don't really have to find them.
Okay.
I have gotten some, or you'll be so overwhelmed by the amount of work, you'll know I need help with this. Or, you'll accept a job and you have a friend that got paid way more because they lacked representation, So I think that everybody's journey is very different. So I try to make myself available and say, okay, you may be to the point, or if somebody, has, like a deal falls in their lap and they don't know what to do with it, then I'm like, okay, let me help you, it's like, let me help you through. Everybody's journey is.
Can you hear me?
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can.
Okay, so I have a Danny Deuces in our audience. He said, what about an Instagram comedian that wants to do stand-up? What would you suggest they do?
Well, before David A. Arnold got so busy, I would have told them they need to go take his art of comedy class. Right now, he's a comedic writer, and
Okay.
so, but Rodney Perry, he does in Atlanta. He does stand-up classes. It's like, you have to talk to the writers, talk to the veterans on figuring out how to develop your set, to develop your point of view. So often, I think, especially now, we're used to, oh, I can do it myself. But
Mm-hmm.
think about when Microsoft first came on the scene. Of course, you could type and then you could go up and say, okay, edit, cut, and paste. But who knew it was Control C and Control V, right?
Right.
So
I love it. Right.
there
Well,
are, the thing is that it all goes back to education.
mm-hmm.
So yes, there's some things that talent can do, and there's some things that work ethic can do, but there's also something about educating yourself and really diving into that thing that you claim to want so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Even in
Okay.
terms of social media, it's like, how do you
Right.
use Instagram, the right way? How can you maximize Facebook? How can, there's all these things. Education is key.
Okay, so let's talk about the social media component of this, because there are a lot of people that are funny on social media, right? So they post a video, they get these likes, and so they're feeling like they can do stand up because they think they're funny on social media, right? I know you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. How do you tactfully and politely tell someone that they're just not that funny? Because I know you come across it all the time.
Well, I think sometimes you don't have to tell them. Sometimes they'll know. So I'll tell you a quick story. I brought there was an internet comedian who will remain nameless. I brought them to, because what I used to do, I would say, okay, if I take somebody like that, and then I start to see them popping up. And so what I would do is I would talk to Enz Mitchell at the Comedy Union.
Okay.
And he's the Black-owned comedy club on Pico. And I would ask him, can you, give me a night? Give me a night for this person. So that was kind of my barometer, because people there, they weren't really used to paying. So if the comedian could bring people out and they would pay, I'm like, okay, we're on to something. And I had this, like, just my little thing that I would do to kind of test on their ability to sell, right?
Okay.
So this particular person, I bring her in, and she sells out 3 shows. She sold out 2 shows and then sold out another show in one day. So I'm like, yeah. So she goes and she performs to her crowd, and they are finishing her sentences. And it is an amazing show, right? So I take same said comedian to the Improv on Monday night.
Different audience. Uh-oh.
Listen, silence.
Oh.
Because it wasn't her crowd. And at that moment, I'm sure if she's ever honest with herself, she'll know that that's the moment she knew she had to be serious about stand-up, that she had to be serious about these jokes, and that relying on her followers was not going to be the thing that would sustain her in this game.
So what makes a good set? Like, is there a certain formula to a good set? Like, what makes a good set?
I think, it's point of view. Have you ever seen somebody and you say, that girl that hate her kids? Or, that guy that talks really bad about them? You know what I mean? It's like, whatever it is really being that authentically, like that amazing point of view where you're just like, wait, that dude, because a lot of times they might have 10 minutes to capture your attention. They might have 2. But when you can say, the guy that was gay, but then he had to, tell his mama that he really wasn't, and they had to have, it's like, so whatever your point of view is being, solid to that. But in terms of a set, it's, taking that point of view and helping and crafting out all the different colors as if you're writing, but you're writing in words, because we weren't there when it happened, whether it was real or wasn't. But it's like, you crafting and creating what that world looks like, so it brings them into that joke so they can feel it. But then you have some people that are just, they're real quick with it. So like Tony Roberts, I remember he said one joke. He said, I love sex in the morning except if I'm in jail. What?
Right. Right.
And and so that whole kind of redirection,
Right.
and so there's so many, there's not just one way. And that's the whole thing that's so great about comedy, is that you really can bring somebody into your world. And if you can make them see it the way that you see it, that's why, like, especially with Black women, we're so colorful. We have, for so long, I would be so frustrated because as I traveled, I felt like I was hearing the same things. I'm like, wait, you're not talking about the kids. You're not talking about what happened at the AT&T store or the grocery store, but I think it's, if you're a good storyteller, but again, there's an art to it. Everybody can't just get up and do it. It's like everybody can't put on makeup.
Right.
And I also have told the comedians, you can. But, I told one comedian, he said, Tam, I'm funny. And I said, it's not enough to be funny. Just like it's not enough for your wife just to be pretty.
Right.
What kind of partner are you? You want her to be clean. You want her to be educated, a great mom. So how do you promote? Are you on time? It's like, what are you bringing to the table other than you're funny? And funny is subjective. How do you find your audience? Who is going to pay to come and see you?
Because that's what it boils down to, dollars and cents. But listen, so I used to work for Fat Tuesdays back in the day. Guy Torrey had Fat Tuesdays.
And he's my client.
See?
And he's doing a documentary on Fat Tuesdays.
I know, and I'm doing it next Tuesday.
Yes.
So listen, it's funny that you talk about, building the set, or just that one line that can be so memorable. And I just think of Mike Epps, who I still remember almost 20-something years ago, his set, and the way that he would set it up and bring you in. And I'm talking about like belly laughter, like you on the floor laughing. But to see kind of all their matriculation through the years and the work that gets put in. And I don't think a lot of people are up for the challenge when it comes to the work.
Right.
It's the behind the scenes. It's doing the set when you only have 4 people in the crowd. And not only that, not just to your people. Right. Because you can be funny, just like you said about the young lady. But when you try and venture off to another crowd that doesn't look like yours, I think, to me, that's kind of the test of where you really stand as a stand-up comedian.
But that's also a part of your matriculation too, is understanding who your audience is. I had one client who was in Dallas, and the first Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it was a young audience, and he was fine. On Sunday, it was an older audience, and it was couples. The jokes that worked for those young single people didn't hit the same way on Sunday with the grown folks that were married. So again, it's like, there's such an art form to it. And I think that's why sometimes some of the veterans get frustrated when people don't come in and respect it.
Yeah, to my point about the whole
Absolutely.
Instagram.
Right, exactly. But have some of the Instagram people are sketch people. They're not, and sometimes they get pushed into the stand-up because I think, there's just so much opportunity. And, there's some times where they really want them to host. It's like, because if you have a bad set, 20 minutes, 20 boxing minutes, do you know how long that is to listen to somebody? It is terrible. I had a shirt that said, don't wait for the light.
Don't wait for Sandman. Don't wait for
the light. Just go. Just say goodnight.
Right.
Just say goodnight,
Right. So, take your pride and exit stage left.
But even think about a lot of people in LA. A lot of people outside of LA don't realize that in LA you don't get paid to be on the stage.
Right.
You might get a $7 drink ticket, but that stage time is so coveted because anybody can be in the crowd. The producers, other comedians and writers, and it's like, and people and the comedians, they need to work out their sets. I just hit one of my guys, hasn't been on stage because of COVID in a year, and said, are you ready to go back on stage in New York? Because things are starting to open up. Now, this guy, if I told you his name, you'd be like, get out of here. Because he is a vet. He said, I haven't been on stage in a year. He wouldn't dare.
Wow.
Because we're not open in LA for him to go and practice.
Right.
And you would think they wouldn't. Like when people talk about Eddie Murphy touring, LA will have a treat because he'll be popping up on the comedy clubs here if he does that.
Yep. Yep.
Like just like Martin started before he started touring, just popping up at the Comedy Store, at the, just all over town. It's not something that any of them, not Jamie Foxx, not anybody, not Kevin Hart, nobody takes it lightly.
Right. Yeah, they respect the craft.
They respect it, and they know they better do the workout room. If you've seen Deion Cole's workout room on Netflix, he's like working out his jokes. I mean, that's a real thing for them.
Right. Okay, so I want to circle back to, obviously, I said the name of this live is Navigating Successfully in a Male-Dominated Field. So you are the first Black woman to head a comedy department for a top 10 agency.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, first of all, it's like
pre-George Floyd,
but it's just like
pre-George Floyd, 2017.
Right, right. And so for you, let me ask you this, because I know sometimes, being a boss myself, and when you being the head of this agency, do you find it tough navigating through your assertiveness and your strength in that industry? Because I feel like men can walk through the door, they can bark orders, they can tell everybody what to do, and nobody says anything, right? But the minute we do it, we get labeled. So how are you able to navigate through that and still be the boss and the leader and be effective at that?
So one thing, I am the head within the division, not
the
I don't own the agency.
Right.
Agency's been in existence over 30 years. What I think that as women, we naturally have learned how to get our point across without, you don't necessarily have to go in. I feel like I'm playing chess and not checkers.
Gotcha.
I think, what's interesting about my world is that there are times when I have older clients that can't hear from me. So I may have to go get my white male counterpart to tell them what needs to be said so they can receive it. Now, if I'm in my ego, I can say, he gonna take this from me.
Right.
But sometimes they can't hear from us because they might have a nagging wife at home.
Gotcha.
Maybe they can't hear. So I think that a lot of times it doesn't have to be the hammer. I think, a lot of times because I'm not in my ego and really I want to get to the bag and it's not about the fight, that I want to listen and I want to hear, okay, what exactly is everybody's motivation? What do you want out of this? What do you want out of this? And really staying out of that testosterone Y chromosome fight. And so I think that there are times that if I was a man, I probably would be in the fight, but they're not responding to me necessarily the same way. I'm grown, I have different motivations. There are things that sometimes they care about where I'm like, I don't care about that. How do we get to the money? How do we get to the deal?
Right.
You're focused on the wrong thing.
Right.
But I think I've been incredibly lucky to be, to just kind of be shaped and molded by some men that really just poured into me and saw that grit and that fire. But even when I was on tour, I was my own HR department.
Right.
So I'm not a punk for sure. And there are times when I'll let things happen and they can talk until I don't. And when a lot of times if we talk less, we can learn more.
Hello. I always say God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right?
It's true, because there's so many times we're telling people what they have to do, then we don't see what they're really wanting to do. Right. So I think if we spend more time just understanding who people are and how they're motivated, that we're smart, we're savvy,
right.
And it's like, it's a different type of strength.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's funny. I'm thinking about something my mom used to always say. She would say, when it came to my stepdad, she goes, yeah, he's the head, but I'm the neck. Right? and what does the neck do? It controls the head, right? So I gotta let you know that I'm in control. But
Right.
you know what I mean? So to your point, and I also say your ego is not your amigo. So when you learn to kind of let that go and focus on what the end result is, like you said, let's get this bag. I don't care how we get to it.
Right.
You said what? The end result is the bag. So I love that.
How do we do good business? It's like, okay, how do we do good business? How do we keep our name intact? How do we make sure that when we leave the table, that everybody wants to come back?
Absolutely. I love
you
that.
know?
Yes, for sure. Okay, so what are some of the ways you feel like you're paving the way for future female leaders in your industry?
I think one, really changing the culture of what an agent does, because I think that, so what I learned coming into this is a lot of these kids are groomed from the mailroom, and there's a agency culture. And so if that's all they know, and they don't have that other life experience, then they're scared to answer the phone. They're scared to, and show business change is the constant. So the sooner that if you just tell the truth and let everybody know what's going on, even if the answer is no, that gives the other people a chance to recover, you know? And so just teaching them about how the different aspects of the business are affected by what we do. One, I'm on the diversity, equity, inclusion task force at Innovative, where it's like we want to do outreach and let little Black girls know, and young Black men know, that these jobs exist. I never knew this job existed. This isn't anything that I asked for, And so that type of outreach. And even I've hired my last two agent hires, or people that are groomed within the agency, two badass Korean women. It's like give people a chance, teach them to do good business, teach them to do good work, and on that merit. But I'm always looking to groom, somebody that looks like me, who was me that didn't know. Right now, I'm a mentor for Start with 8 Hollywood, where women of color are mentoring other women of color, and they give you 8 mentees. So I just started that about a month ago. And so
is there a website for that, Tamra?
Yes, it's start with the number 8 Hollywood.com.
Okay.
So that's been really interesting. So I just got to meet, I have one more to meet, but I got to meet with 7 of these amazing women. One young girl, she's like in college, already knows she wants to be a casting director. So I'm like, I can connect her with all these casting directors. Some are more seasoned writers. And a lot of times it's these kind of connections that they don't know, especially me as an outsider coming in. I'd have to just ask my friends, like, make this a warm call, connect me with this person, and, and just come in with a sincerity. And unfortunately, sometimes, it can be so cynical, but what happened with me is because I'm just coming in, it's like, it was refreshing that it's not, the same old thing that they're used to. So I've made a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues, a lot of allies to help on this journey with my clients.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely all about relationships, and I always say it's never, when people say it's lonely at the top, I have to stop them and say, no, it's not. You just forgot to bring somebody with you.
Yes.
And that's what you're doing by, mentoring these women so that they don't have to navigate this like you did, basically by yourself. But Tamara, even from the beginning of this, and you're talking about the things that you did 25 years ago, you didn't just land here. No. You know what I mean? You were already on the path to getting here, but you put in the work to make it happen. And I just think people understand that success doesn't happen overnight.
It's so true. And even, somebody can open the door for you, but it's your job to kick it in. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? It's like they can leave it unlocked, but if you don't, do what's necessary to show that you belong there, then you won't last. And
Absolutely.
so, I think there's this is like one big playground for me. I literally feel like I'm just helping my friends feed their families. Literally.
And that's why you're successful, and that's why you keep getting blessed, because oftentimes it's not about us, right?
Right.
It's about how we can give back to other people. Okay, so look, we've gone beyond the 30 mark, but I only have 3 questions left, and then there's some questions in the audience. So last 3 questions are, what is your superpower?
Let's see. I think my superpower is I'm a profiler. I know, like, for whatever reason, I know who people are. I know what motivates them. I know what means something to them. I know people.
Mm.
And the majority of the time I'm right. Now I've had, I got a couple of, are questionable, but I know people and I listen.
Mm. I love that. Okay. What is your favorite quote?
Um, I, when you love you, they do too.
Simple.
And
I like that.
that's a Tamra original.
Look, all
That
right,
was
y'all, write that down. Write that down. You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
I told my 22-year-old daughter that you don't have to beg nobody to be friends with you. When you love you, they will too.
Simple, but so true, Tamara. So true. Okay, so what advice would you give to a female who's looking to become an agent?
Well, one, you have to graduate from college. Well, I guess you don't have to, but if you went into a traditional path, the way into the agency is you have to have a 4-year degree.
Okay.
And then go to the nearest agency. And because the thing about the agency is that they need a lot of the other jobs require a year of agency experience.
Okay.
So there's a lot of turnover. But again, it's like it's hard to play the game if you don't even know what it is, right? And so the other thing is that a lot of the people that come into those career path jobs, they have support from our family. When I came into Resolution was the first agency, the assistants made $10 an hour.
Wow.
What little brown kid do you know can survive on $10 an hour in LA? And then what I found out was that my white counterpart was supporting their children that additional 3 or 4 years in those career positions, so that, it's like now they can fly.
Right.
Whereas, culturally, we're like, you 18, or culturally, I done got you through college, you on your own.
I did my job.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, but had I not seen that, because that's what I came from. I've been on my own since I was 17. So that's what I came from. So had I not seen that, then I wouldn't even know that I was putting my kids at a disadvantage to their counterparts.
Right.
Because that's not what's happening with them. So the agencies are always taking people, because there's, like I said, there's a lot of turnover. So for somebody that wanted to be an agent, they should reach out to the local agency or reach out to ours.
Okay. So I'm going to throw in one more question. What's the best advice ever given to you?
The best advice that was ever given to me was from my father. And he said, never make a permanent decision based off of a temporary situation. And it literally saved my life. I was contemplating being a math teacher because I wanted to be on the same schedule as my kids when they were young. That summer break can be so hard for women, and that winter break is so hard when you can't get people, or, it costs so much to help them, to help with your kids. And so I said, I'm just going to be a math teacher. And he said, them kids going to grow up and you still going to be a math teacher. He said, you don't make a permanent decision based off of a temporary situation. And that it was pivotal for me.
Oh Lord, Joe, you done dropped so many gems tonight, honey. I hope you all realize and recognize what you all have been privy to for these last 42 minutes. Real quick, I'm going to open it up to the audience and see if anybody has any questions. I know there was a question up here that I want to go back to. This person says, what about females that want to do stand-up comedy, but they're considered too sexy or pretty for the stage?
You know, I think that you listen, own your sexy. But that your whole story doesn't have to be about that.
Okay.
You know, if you're sexy, talk about being smart. You know, you can't help their eyes, but you can help their brain. Yeah, I mean,
I love that. No, I love that. That's good. No, I love that. Okay, so Shawty _212. She says, or I don't know if that's a guy or a girl. Sorry. This person says, I'm so proud of my elementary friend. Go Tam. Do you know who that is?
Who is that?
Shawty _212. I don't know, but he or she says, I'm so proud of my elementary friend.
That's Parker Elementary. That's East Oakland.
Jerry Law 2 Raw. Whoa, this is the best live he's watched in months. Thank you.
Okay.
Deleon, is it Deleon Robinson? Or how do you say it?
Delone
Robinson says, your mouth is your superpower. That's what makes you a boss.
You know what? I'll take that because that was actually nice coming from him.
Okay, I'll read a couple of more. Edwards Joshua says, Tamra, one of my favorite agents to work with. Girl, you're getting a whole bunch of love, boy.
Attorney for that Fox Child.
Yes. So Lance Wood says, I would have stayed in the grade forever if you were my math teacher. Oh. What you want?
Listen, he won't be right here. All I do is kiss that neck. Cut it out, Lance.
Right. Okay. And
I also want to give a shout out to Sigma Gamma Rho, Iota Beta Sigma. I just was inducted there, so I am a sorority member with Sigma Gamma Rho.
Go with your D9.
Yeah, I got my little blue and gold.
Let me see it. Yes.
Royal blue and gold.
I love it. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Okay, so yes, original _my just said that, hey Tam, hashtag SJSU and Faith forever.
Okay, Tam. Faith. Girl, we was in a rap group called Females Are in the House. That's my Shalique.
Wait, that was you were in the rap group, Tamra?
Yes, child.
Can you give us some bars?
Listen. I don't know your audience. I don't know if their ears can take, that's Bailey's song. Okay. Don't do it. Ask her about it.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I won't make you do it. All right. Let's see. And then last but not least, Larry Green Comedy says, I'm from St. Louis. I love your work and I'll meet you one day.
Thank you, Larry.
All right, Tamra, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this live tonight. I always say, look, there's two things they're not making any more of. That's time and land. So
it's true.
Respectful of your time. Oh my gosh, girl. Thank you.
You're such a lady. You're such a boss. I love you so much. Thank you. I'm honored.
Hey, lady.
Hey, lady.
And so are you. And again, I am just so thrilled that you joined me tonight on this Wind Down Wednesday and being my featured lady of the week. And yes, we are going to clink, 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 toast it out. So, thank you so much. And I'll be talking to you soon. All right.
Have a good night.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.